talking about the future of technology, but I'll start with the past. So yeah, I'm with Liquid Intelligent Technologies. We used to be called Liquid Telecom, but I've been working in that company for nearly 20 years, since 2002. And actually, we recently, last year, we rebranded to Liquid Intelligent Technologies to say that we are a technology company. But for me, I've been CTO of the company for quite a while, but I joined as the first engineer in the company. There were 3 people when I joined. We've now got about 2,500 employees, but I was the 3rd employee of the company. But I joined as an engineer with some knowledge of some technology, which was there to steer our business at the time. So I actually joined as a voice engineer with specialization in something called voice over IP. Now, what we have seen in the 20-year lifespan of the time I've been working here, we've seen some really big shifts in technology, particularly with relation to the African continent and how communications and business works in the African continent. I'll mention a few of these technology shifts in change. So one has been very profound and a big impact in our business. This is satellite to fiber. So 20 years ago, all communications between Africa and the rest of the world and this East Africa particularly, was done using satellite communications. So we've now shifted to, there are still a lot of satellite dishes all over the country, by the way, but we've shifted to most of our communications and our data communications going over fiber optic networks. And we've also seen, I joined as a voice engineer in the company, we've seen voice shifting to data. We've seen even when we are communicating these days, we might be doing it as chat on WhatsApp or something else, and that's data packets. But even if we make a call using those apps that are on our phones, we're using data rather than using voice circuits. This is a big shift. We've seen sort of more evolutional changes as well. So in the area of mobile comms, shifting from 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. They're talking about 6G in China these days. And we've seen, shifts in computing as well. So computers getting smaller and smaller, transistors, more and more transistors getting on a chip, which is to do with Moore's law. But computers getting cheaper, mobile phones getting cheaper, more power of compute devices. So, other shifts as well. But, these are mega changes in technology. Now, why am I talking about these shifts? Because, as we think about the future, as I say, we have to think about the past. Now, as I say, Liquid was founded in 2002, and we started out to do voice over satellite. That's why I mentioned that voice to data, the satellite to fiber shift. We're now in a very completely different business, and technology has changed. We've ridden some of those shifts in technology changes, and we've made very big investments in technology changes. And part of my job, obviously, as CTO, is to see what are the technology shifts, what are the changes, how do we adapt our businesses for what is coming. That brings me to why I set my New Year's resolution to start understanding about cryptos and blockchain. These shifts have happened, but we've also on the lines we've missed opportunities, or we've invested in wrong technologies actually. So we first launched. We came to Kenya in 2013 when we bought some networks in Kenya, but we've been doing business in Kenya from earlier than that, from about 2009. But we actually came to Kenya doing business with Barclays Banks, ABSA now, doing payment terminals. We decided to invest our expertise into electronic payments, and we decided to invest in this technology, these POS machines. When you go into a nice cafe and you pay by credit card and they give you a machine, we invested in that technology. We put our expertise, our investments and our partnerships in that piece of technology. That was around 2009, 2008, around the same time as M-Pesa was coming to the fore. So, you see where point-of-sale machines are and where M-Pesa is now, and the amount of transactions and the volume of transactions. So much as we made a decision to invest in payments technology, we invested in the wrong payments technology for the huge boom that was going to happen in Africa. And as well, I think even as 2006, I wrote this kind of piece of software that would run on your computer. It's a bit like Skype for making voice calls and doing chat, pretty much like WhatsApp does that runs on your phone these days. But we did all that software on the PC. We didn't do that software on the smartphone. And again, this is before WhatsApp. We brought this in, and completely. That project long gone with us, but completely pushed our technology platform, how we were going to deliver the whole thing. We just pitched it wrong for the continent of Africa. So I think that's the kind of examples I wanted to give of getting technology right, getting technology wrong. If you pick the wrong technology for your business and it doesn't turn out to maybe that technology isn't ready for the world, or people don't have the right devices, then you will not succeed. You'll not be able to grow. You'll not be able to scale. So it's quite important to look at what is the technology landscape. But as you create a technology business, you have to start thinking about a problem. If you are using technology is just something you apply to fix a problem. Okay. So you have to start with, the opportunity for your business is created by seeing a problem, seeing something you want to change about the way you're doing business, or the way people are living, the way people are having entertainment, or whatever it is. Find the problem and then look at the technologies around and see how you can change the way that happens. Disruptions, digital disruption we're talking about these days. So, starting with that problem, adapt your whole technology journey and base it on that. So I'll perhaps loop that back to say, what was the problem we were trying to solve? Why did I come to Liquid Telecom as the third employee, as a voice engineer? So we had some customers and people in our group who were just setting up mobile networks, and they wanted to do international calls. It was very expensive to do international calls, and the cost of international calls, the infrastructure to do that was very expensive as well. If anyone's seen the satellite antennas in Longonot, really massive satellite dishes were required, and it was very expensive, huge investment. And I came because I was a specialist in this thing called voice over IP, and we had some specific technology which could enable us to do 12-to-1 compression of voice, which was that's a game changer because it was more than any compression systems anybody else had. Enabled us to do more voice for less money. We spent less money on satellites. We spent less money on satellite dishes. So we're able to grow our business and have an advantage over competitors who had big satellite dishes and used a lot of satellite bandwidth, which was very expensive. So we were able to grow from having nothing to now being the largest fiber optic on data network in Africa. But starting out because we saw a niche, we saw this piece of technology, how we can do things more efficiently, how we can get voice to and from Africa cheaper than anybody else. That enabled us to grow and expand a business. We've had other shifts, as I've mentioned. But, so starting with a problem and looking for a way to solve it. And I think that everybody must think about that if we are entrepreneurs. So, yeah, I think let's look at maybe what are the technical tools available to solve problems that we have at our fingerprints, right? So you've got a problem, you're trying to find a way to solve it. There's a lot of technology out there. The first technical tool is, the internet as a source of knowledge. So if you have a problem to solve, and if anybody has had a stab at solving that problem before, you'll probably find that just by using a search engine on a Google. There's a lot of knowledge out there. So we all have access to the internet. We can find, it's no longer just a case of I've got this bookshelf of these books, and that has all the knowledge that I have. The internet has all the knowledge in the world, and so we've got a way to go and find solutions, find ideas we can build upon and we can innovate on. So we have the source of knowledge. They obviously a lot of training and learning as well to help us with that knowledge. But specifically to the infrastructure that we have in Kenya, we've got a lot of a huge amount of infrastructure for tech businesses, and I will, much as in my company, we have invested in infrastructure in fiber and data centers as the main pieces of infrastructure that we've built. We've got big fiber network in Kenya, big data centers in Kenya. We've brought cloud to Africa and to Kenya. So cloud computing, fiber optic cables, data centers, that's part of the infrastructure. But then some things are less obvious, and actually, you might not think of them as being infrastructure, but I'm calling them as being infrastructure for innovation. So things like smartphones, right? So Kenya has one of the highest penetrations of smartphones in most African countries. So the fact that you've got a population, a bit of a tech-savvy young population as well, with smartphones and able to download apps, that gives you a platform. That is then again a piece of infrastructure. Then we have mobile money, of course, right? So the fact that we have mobile money and we have fintech innovation on top of it, it allows us to take payments and move payments from one part of the world, and that's a big piece of the infrastructure that we have. And then we have even now a lot of tech-enabled delivery services. I first came to Kenya in 2013, and people were starting out doing e-commerce, but there was no unless you got your own fleet of motorbikes or anything else, there was no mechanism for delivery. You could start out doing e-commerce and selling something online, but you didn't have a working method of getting deliveries. So now we have many people. We have Glovo and Jumia and all these people who are running around with cars, fleets of cars and fleets of motorcycles enabled by technology. And I think actually the delivery time for e-commerce in Nairobi is one of the fastest in the world. If I order from Amazon in the United Kingdom, they will use a courier. I'll probably get it the next day. But if you order something from an e-commerce shop in Nairobi, you probably get it in the next 45 minutes. It's going to be picked up by a boda. He's going to bring it straight to you. So we have a huge asset in terms of this delivery platform, completely leaping over what Posta never managed to achieve with deliveries to home, delivery to direct to your door. So there are other platforms as well. We've built a specific network across Kenya for Internet of Things, for devices. So anybody who's interested in IoT, that we have networks that are specifically dedicated for IoT. Then we have the soft infrastructure, the things that enable you to do business, and this is where Kenya has, I think, led in many ways. So we've got there are a lot of barriers to doing business. Kenya's not in the top 10 of the ease of doing business in the world, but when it comes to technology, we've had pretty good technology policy enabling environments. Talk of things like sandboxes, where you're allowed to test things and try things out in sandboxes. So that means you can not have to worry so much about regulation. But we've also had a bit of I think a culture of act now, seek for forgiveness later. And I think Michael Joseph, when he was pushing M-Pesa out to the market, that's very much where Safaricom were coming from. Just get this thing out there and see what happens. So other countries in Africa are very, very tight, and you need a license to do anything. And you still need many licenses in Kenya, and they can get in your way. But even when there are barriers to applying technology, the authorities and the regulators that we have here are always willing for conversation. You're always able to go and say, we've got this new piece of tech, we've got this new way of doing something. Can we adjust the regulations? And I think that is part of the strength that. Why we're seeing so many startup companies, why we're seeing so much investment going into startup companies in Kenya. It is actually a good proving ground for testing your digitally enabled business anywhere in Africa. You think you can start here and you can grow across the whole continent. But anyway, perhaps I just want to talk a bit and about what we are doing to help tech startups and youth to enable their businesses. So we have a specific program which is under me. I'm Chief of Technology and Innovation. So we 1/3 of that is actually about how we help people do innovative things on our network, right? So we're looking at the tech startup companies. We're looking at people coming out of school, coming out of universities, starting up their businesses, how we help them to grow, how we help them to use technology. So it starts with skills. We have specifically a platform called 21C Skills, which is kind of for the, I would say the youth learner, sort of anybody from maybe people from starting around 30 of university to postgraduate, using 21C Skills to apply whatever learnings they have about that they've been doing in the university courses, but to sort of mix it with applied knowledge and mix it with technologies to apply new technologies, data science, machine learning, Internet of Things, cybersecurity. These are what we call the jobs of the fourth industrial revolution of the 21st century skills. So we have a platform for doing that, but rather than just being like another platform where you learn on your own, we're focusing that around innovation hubs. So across the country, we've got about 8 or 9 programs with them on learning on data science. So we're starting with trying to build skills for those entrepreneurs and youth who are seeking to gain employment, seeking to start their businesses. We're actually starting younger than that. We've been working with school organizations, startup competitions like Young Scientist Kenya, which is a school-based science learning, applied science competition. So we're starting earlier. These are more CSR activities, but in terms of the skills we're doing, it's to help people get going right now. We're also working with startup hubs across the whole continent. So I actually work myself, though we have a big office in Mombasa Road, I work in Nairobi Garage, which is one of the incubation centers, startup co-working spaces in Nairobi. But we help them. We give them cheap internet or subsidized or free internet, helping startup hubs to house young people like you. So again, this is part of the infrastructure. So back to the enabling environment, this network of startup hubs we have across the whole country now. It started with iHub being one of the first startup incubator hubs on the continent, but now we have many in Nairobi, but not just all over the country, in Kisumu, Eldoret, Mombasa, Lamu. So, we have innovation hubs across the whole country, and that is a place where people can go, work, learn, and meet other young people. And those sort of, part of what's exciting about working in an innovation hub is those corridor conversations, the people you bump into and you say, oh, what are you doing? I'm doing the startup, blah, blah. And that's just me, an old fella. If you're youth-led businesses, I think the contacts and things that you meet just being in an environment like that is very beneficial to what you want to do. So we're sponsoring innovation hubs with say cheaper internet subsidized bandwidth, working with those innovation hubs on skills development. But also we have then offers for startup businesses. We've been working with some of the biggest technology companies in the world, and people like Microsoft and others. But we're bringing in offers of things, free stuff basically, free cloud, free access to stuff to help startups to develop their products. So develop your products using cloud computing without having to pay until you've started generating revenue. So, that is the stuff that we do directly. And then there's other things we don't do. We're not investing in startups as Liquid, but we have in our ecosystem, we have people who are. So if we are working with a startup company or startup group who are using our technology, and they say, we want some, we're looking for money, we can't help you with money. but here's someone that can. So it's all about connecting people, about connecting companies. I think that is ultimately, as a communications company, that's what we do, right? And then another one of my New Year's resolutions, but this is something I've been doing already, but really to focus on in everything I'm developing in the company and technologies, to focus around connecting people, building communities, right? So it's about, I'm seeing that the value in the internet and what's making the internet so powerful is the communities that it's building. And I think the pandemic has, maybe more people have gone online, people are doing more online, more community building, and this is what's driving some of these revolutions like cryptocurrency, blockchains, etc. So that would be, I think, I'll kind of come to a finish, but we're here to help. If we have invested, as I said, quite a couple of $1 billion in infrastructure across the continent, and if we are not able to really support the next generation of innovative tech companies out of Africa, then why are we here, right? So I think that's why I'm here today, and looking forward to engaging more with everybody here and hearing the other speakers. And yeah, thanks very much for inviting me. Cheers.